Welcome students in the biology class. Right now we are on the chapter Nutrition in Plants. Last week we studied about saprophytes and symbiosis. I had given the introduction of symbiosis and I asked you to learn. So I hope you might have done that. So what is symbiosis? Symbiosis is a relationship between two organisms that benefit both is known as symbiosis. Basically it is a give and take relationship between two organisms which live together and help each other. This kind of relationship is known as symbiotic relationship, and the organism which perform this symbiotic relationship are known as symbiont. So this I had given you last week the definitions also. So today's topics are examples of symbiosis and returning nutrients to the soil. So today we are going to wind up the chapter. Example of symbiosis. The very first one is lichen. Lichen is a very unique organism. It is not a single organism. Actually, it is the combination of two organisms which live together and help each other. Lichen is mainly made up of an alga or cyanobacteria and a fungus. They both, an alga or cyanobacteria and a fungus, they both combine to form lichen. As you know, fungi, they are saprophytes. They are not able to prepare their own food. They grow on some dead and decaying material to absorb nutrients from them. Why they are unable to prepare the food? Because they lack chlorophyll. On the other hand, alga or cyanobacteria can conduct photosynthesis similar to plants. Alga is having green colored pigment, that is chlorophyll in them, so they can prepare the food. And this alga lives with fungus or fungi. Fungi is saprophyte. They can only absorb but they can't prepare their food. So symbiosis is actually, if we tell, it is like a relationship between a landlord and his tenant. Landlord means makan malik, tenant means kirayedar. If there is any tenant living, so that landlord has given his house, one part of the house, to the tenant, and this tenant has to pay the rent every month. मकान मालिक के घर पे किराएदार रहते हैं, किराएदार हर महीने उसको रेंट देता है और मकान मालिक उसे रहने की जगह. So similar to that, symbiosis is again the same. Two organism, or it can be more than two also. Two organisms which live together and help each other, benefit each other, that is known as symbiosis. First example I have given you lichen, in which there is fungi and alga or cyanobacteria. So let us read. So when a fungus associates with an alga or cyanobacteria, they form lichen. So whenever there is a word lichen, lichen means the combination of fungus and alga. Alga is autotroph and fungus is saprophyte. Saprophyte means they are heterotroph, depending on others for their food. The alga makes food and fungus absorbs water and mineral. So this is all about lichen. Once again I am repeating, lichen is not a single organism. It is a combination of two organisms, or it would be more than two also. But right now two, an alga or cyanobacteria and a fungus. Alga prepare food because they have chlorophyll, and fungus absorbs water, mineral and some other things from wherever they grow. Lichen basically grow on the tree bark, dead and decaying wood, even on the rocks. The image of lichen, you can see it is greenish, that is the alga part. The next example for symbiosis is about rhizobium. Plants, as you know, this chapter is about plants. In atmosphere, the gas which is present in abundance, that is nitrogen, around 78% nitrogen is present in the atmosphere. But this nitrogen cannot be used directly by us or by any other living thing. We can't use it, we can't breathe nitrogen, but nitrogen plays a very important role in our body as well as in plants. We mainly get nitrogen in our body through the plants, but again the plants, as you know, through stomata they can only inhale, or they can intake carbon dioxide in the daytime, and while doing respiration they take oxygen. Again they are unable to take nitrogen. So but plants need nitrogen for its growth. They need nitrogen for its growth because the nitrogen present in plant produces a substance called amino acids, which provides plants with growth protein that can be used for the growth of the plant. So plants need nitrogen for their growth, but they can't use the nitrogen present in the air. Why do they need the nitrogen? Because nitrogen, when it enters into the plant, they produce a substance called amino acid, which help the plant to for in the growth of the plant by producing proteins. So if plants do not have nitrogen, in that condition what happens, the color of the leaves becomes yellow and the size of fruit and flowers gets affected. The size of flower would be dull or small, and size of fruits can also be small, or the color would not be so good. In some leguminous plants, and here the example is rhizobium, so I am giving the example of leguminous plants, but actually all the plants need nitrogen, and they get it mostly through some microorganisms, or through the fertilizers, or it would be present in the soil, in the water, in any form they get it. Right now the example is of rhizobium in the topic symbiosis, so we are moving towards leguminous plants. In leguminous plants, now leguminous plants means the plants in which seeds are inside pods, inside outer cover, like in pulses, soya bean, the seeds are inside an outer cover. So in leguminous plants, a bacteria named rhizobium attaches itself to the root nodules. Root nodules are the swollen part of the root. Let us have a look on the picture also. You can see rhizobium, the root nodules are the swollen part of the root, where this rhizobium bacteria attaches itself, or you can tell they make one colony over there. They start growing in the root nodule. Nodule are the swollen part present in the roots of leguminous plants. Leguminous plants means the plants in which seeds are inside pods or outer cover. In some leguminous plants, as we know, rhizobium is there. This rhizobium bacteria which is present in the root nodule, they have the ability to convert atmospheric nitrogen into an usable form. This rhizobium bacteria can convert the atmospheric nitrogen, means the nitrogen present in the atmosphere, into an usable form. What is the usable form? Most of the time the usable form is ammonia or nitrate. These two substances can be directly taken by the roots. Where the rhizobium are there, rhizobium just put it inside the plant, and the plant starts using it in the form of ammonia or nitrate, and now the plants can use it because this nitrogen which has entered into the plant in the form of ammonia or nitrate can produce amino acids, or you can tell it can help the plant to produce the proteins which help in the growth of plant. And this plant part, when it is eaten by us, this part, that nitrogen which is present inside the plant, comes into our body also, and we are able to get nitrogen through the plant or the fruit, vegetable, whatever we eat from the plant. So we will see one video. you can see the roots. The swollen part are the root nodules of leguminous plants. Here the bacteria, the purple colored bacteria have colonized. They have started growing, and these bacterias, they absorb carbohydrates from the plant, and in return they give nitrogen to the plants in the form of ammonia or nitrate. Once again, plant, swollen part, root nodules. So let us return back once again on the same topic. Rhizobium is a bacteria which lives in the root nodules of leguminous plants. What is the main function of rhizobium? To take the atmospheric nitrogen, convert into ammonia or nitrate and give it to the plant. Now if we speak about symbiosis, rhizobium is helping the plant. So what does the rhizobium gets in return? In return, they get carbohydrates that is prepared by the plant after the process of photosynthesis. So they get the carbohydrates which help the rhizobium bacteria, and in return rhizobium gives them atmospheric nitrogen in the form of ammonia or nitrate. The last topic of this chapter is returning nutrients to the soil. As we know, plants are the main source of food, and plants absorb, for their growth, they absorb nutrients from the soil. If the soil does not have nutrient, then in that condition the growth of the plant will be affected. The plant will not grow properly, and we will not get the enough food. Or other animals, those who depend on the plants, their life will also be in the danger. So plants has to absorb nutrients from the soil. From where do the nutrients come? Mainly the nutrients comes by the action of decomposers. Whenever any plant, any dead plant is there, or any dead animal or any other organism which has dead, the decomposers break down the dead bodies of plants and animals into simple substances and return nutrients to the soil, which can be absorbed by the roots. Mainly when the bodies are decomposed, again nitrogen releases from the body, mixes into the soil. Many plants can use it by converting into ammonia or something. Sometimes other microbes also help them, but in leguminous plant always there is a symbiosis between the plant and rhizobium. So these decomposers break down the dead bodies or dead plants into simple substances, return the nutrients to the soil, which can be absorbed by the roots and help in the growth of the plant. Sometimes if it doesn't happen, sometimes if even after that the roots are unable to absorb nutrient, or you may tell soil still lacks nutrients, still the soil is not having proper nutrient, in that condition the farmers can use fertilizers and manures to increase the nutrients in the soil. Most of the fertilizers have nitrates in them, that is again a form of nitrogen. They have nitrates in them which help in the growth of the plant. So that is enough, and there is one cycle made in the book on the last page, so I want all of you to go through it. In this chapter 2 experiments were given which we didn't discuss, so just have a look. This one, in this very first one, there is one experiment that is showing how to test for the how to show that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. There is one experiment in which we can take one leaf, keep it in water and boil the water for 3 to 4 minutes. Take out the leaf, now place it in a beaker in which alcohol is present, and now keep the beaker again in boiling water for 10 minutes. What will happen that the alcohol will remove all the chlorophyll from the leaf. The leaf will become whitish, kind of light yellow or something. Chlorophyll will be removed. Now if we drop some iodine on the leaf, you might be remembering whenever iodine comes in contact with starch, it converts the leaf or that part of that plant into bluish black. So the leaf is not having chlorophyll, the leaf is like whitish or light yellowish color. When we put some drops of iodine on that, the leaf suddenly turns into bluish black. It means in the leaf starch is present. Whenever iodine comes in contact with starch, it converts into bluish black color. This shows that the leaf is having starch, and without chlorophyll they can't prepare the food. The leaf is having starch, it means earlier chlorophyll was there and they were preparing the food. The next experiment is to show that sunlight and carbon dioxide are necessary for photosynthesis. In this experiment, 2 potted plants are taken. Both are kept in the dark room for 1 day. After that, if they are kept in a dark room for 1 day, it means they are unable to do the process of photosynthesis, and whatever starch was present, that is used up by the plant. Now they have taken out both the plant, and in one of the plant they have covered some part of the leaf with black paper, and another plant is covered with a bell jar or by a transparent you can tell bowl kind of big tank kind of, it is covered. Now what will happen inside the bell jar, they are using potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide can absorb all the carbon dioxide which is present inside the bell jar, and the other potted plant in which some part of the leaf was covered with black chart paper. Now if we observe, we can keep the plant in the sunlight for some time, again we will take them back, and now let us observe. The leaf that has been covered by the black paper does not have starch. Why it does not have starch? Because that part of the leaf was not getting sunlight for the process of photosynthesis. And now next potted plant which is covered with a bell jar, when we check for the presence of starch, it is also not having starch. Why it is not having starch? Because it was unable to do the process of photosynthesis, because potassium hydroxide, it actually absorbed all the carbon dioxide present inside the bell jar, and in absence of carbon dioxide, plants can't prepare the food. So once go through the experiments, and tomorrow I will discuss the book exercise, and I will share the answers also with you. Till then, if you wish, you can search the answers on your own. So till then, goodbye.